libraries by any chance?
Yes, which library?
Powell Library.
Oh, Powell. Okay, yeah. Those are the
You know,
library.
I'm completely full of shit. I just saw you. I thought you were cute. I was
Oh,
gonna say hi. What's your name? What is it? Atlanta. Hi, nice to meet you.
What's yours?
Cornelius.
Okay.
I go by Corny for short. Here, I just got this phone too, so you're gonna have to throw your name in there. I'm gonna add you under colleagues. Alright, see you later. Take care.
How to open a young, beautiful woman correctly. How to do it the right way. Now, there are two styles of opening that you are going to use whenever you're approaching a young, beautiful woman. And these are the only two styles of opening that you are going to use. Why? Because these are the only two styles of opening in existence. So those two opening styles are, number one, direct, and number two, indirect. So these are the two styles of opening that you are going to use with every young, beautiful woman that you are going to approach. You are either going to go direct or you are going to go indirect. Now, if you're first starting out and you've never approached a young, beautiful woman in your entire life, or if you've never approached a girl, period, in your entire life, I want you to go direct 80% of the time. All right? I want you to go direct 80% of the time. For the next 6 months, I want you to go direct 80% of the time on every single target you approach. Why? Because going direct is just a lot faster. It's just a lot easier. So when you go direct, this is an example of a direct approach. And really, this is the only example of a direct approach because going direct is very simple. This is an example of a direct approach. Hi, my name's Matt. I saw you standing over there. I thought you were cute. And I just wanted to come say hi. What's your name? That is a direct approach, plain and simple. There's nothing more to it. Whenever you see a young, beautiful woman, just walk right up to her, go, hi, my name is Bob, my name's Bill, my name's Tom, my name's Jack, whatever your name is, hi, my name's Matt. I saw you standing over there, I thought you were cute, and I just want to say hi. What's your name? That's it, plain and simple. That is a direct opener. There's no magic to it. And you can do this dozens and dozens of times per day whenever you see a young, cute, hot, beautiful woman that you want to go and approach. All you have to do is see that girl, walk right up to her, go, hi, my name's Matt. I saw you standing over there, or I saw you shopping over there, or I saw you reading that book. I thought you were cute. I just want to say hi. What's your name? That's it. That's going direct. That's going direct. And you can literally do this dozens and dozens of times per day. So for the first 6 months that you're just starting out, if you're completely new to this, I just want you to be an approach robot where whenever you see a young, beautiful woman, you walk right up to her and you go direct. You walk right up to her and you go, hi, my name's Matt. I saw you standing over there. I thought you were cute and I just wanted to say hi. What's your name? That's it. And you can do this dozens and dozens of times per day, all day long. Okay, it doesn't take any magic. I want you to get over that fear and that approach anxiety that you have where your brain is misleading you to believe that you cannot approach young, beautiful women, that you cannot walk up to them and go direct and introduce yourself and tell them they're cute without any repercussions. Because the reality is you can. When you're first starting out, you want to do this over and over until you rewire your brain into believing that this is possible. So really, your first 6 months in the game are just about rewiring your brain and getting those reference experiences to believe that you can do this, that this is possible, that you yourself can walk up to young, beautiful women and easily approach them and easily get into a conversation with them within seconds. And it's not a big deal. So when I first started out in the game, this was before the dating community even existed. I had no concept of what indirect approaches were. So I would never go indirect. I didn't know what that was. So 100% of the time I was going direct. 100% of the time I was walking right up to the girl. I'd see a cute girl, I'd walk right up to her and I literally would go, hi, my name's Matt. I saw you standing over there. I thought you were cute and I just wanted to come say hi. What's your name? That's all I did. And I got tons and tons of dates that way. I got tons of girlfriends that way. I got tons of young, beautiful women into my life that way. And every single young, beautiful girlfriend that I had, many that I had long relationships with, long-term relationships, I met through cold approach pickup. Okay, I did not meet them in my social circle, because in my social circle, we did not have those type of girls in our social circle. So I had to go outside of my social circle in order to get those kind of girls. And the way I did it was going direct. Because like I said, the dating community did not exist back then. So I had no concept of what indirect openers were. So all I knew how to do was go direct. All I knew how to do was walk up to the girl. As soon as I saw a cute girl, I'd just go approach her right there on the spot and go, "Hi, my name's Matt. I saw you standing over there, or I saw you shopping over there, or I saw you reading that book. I thought you were cute, and I just wanted to say hi. What's your name?" That's it. That's all I did. So when you are first starting out in the game, I want you to go direct at least 80% of the time. And the reason I want you to go direct is just because it's very fast, it's very simple. You don't need to know a whole lot of game in order to go direct, and it's a good way to get your feet wet in the game, where you start to learn all of the little nuances of the game. You start to learn about the type of rejections you're going to get. You're going to start to learn about the type of successes you're going to get. You're going to learn about the different types of personalities that these girls have, and it's going to get to the point where after you've done enough approaches, you're going to start to see a pattern. Okay, you're going to start to see a pattern in the girls that you approach. You're going to start to see a pattern in yourself, and you're going to start to weed out what works for you versus what doesn't work for you. That's why it's so critical when you're first starting out in the game to spend those first 6 months just being an approach robot. Okay, just be an approach robot where whenever you see a young, beautiful girl that you want to approach, just walk right up to her and go direct. Just walk right up to her and go, "Hi, my name is whatever your name is. I saw you standing over there. I thought you were cute, and I just want to say hi. What's your name?" That's it. That's all you have to do. Do that for the next 6 months. Whenever you see a young, beautiful girl you want to approach, for the next 6 months, that's all I want you to do. Just get good at approaching, get those reference experiences in your head to believe that this is possible, get those reference experiences in your head to believe that you can do this, okay? And just as importantly, you want to get those reference experiences in your head of the successes that you're going to have doing this. But also, you're going to get those reference experiences in your head of the failures that you're going to have, because not all of these girls are going to be nice to you. A lot of these girls are going to be mean. A lot of these girls are going to be bitches. A lot of these girls are just not going to be in the mood for you approaching them that day. But guess what? That's okay. Because one big key to being successful at doing this is living in abundance. And this is why you want to become an approach robot for your first 6 months, to the point where your rejections don't bother you, to the point where your successes don't bother you, because none of this should matter. All that matters is that you are moving forward in your game, okay? Because you are gonna have rejections and you are gonna have successes in the game. So you have to get out there for your first 6 months, and you just have to get good at doing this. You just have to get good at approaching, okay? Because I went through this myself. I had no concept of what indirect openers were, so I went direct 100% of the time. And it scored me a lot of hot girlfriends. It scored me a lot of hot dates. A lot of these girls are still in my life today. And yes, there were a lot of girls back then who were mean to me. A lot of girls that I approached back then who were like, "No, get away," or "No, I'm not interested," or "No, excuse me, no," and did all that. That's fine too, because I learned how to deal with rejection. From all those girls who were mean and nasty and bitches to me, I learned how to deal with rejection. I learned how to overcome it. The rejections just don't bother me anymore, because I understand it's part of the game. To this very day, when I go out, I do understand that I will probably get rejected tonight. I might get rejected more than I get success. But that's okay, because all I need is one success, right? All you need is one success that day. I mean, you could go out and literally do 20 approaches. Right? Say you do 20 approaches and only one of those girls becomes a success. But say that girl's cool, she's young, she's hot, she's beautiful, and she's somebody that you have a connection and chemistry with. It was all worth it, right? The other 19 who rejected you, screw them, because you got this one success. You got this one girl. You got one success, and that's all you need to get started in the game. You just need that one success. Pat yourself on the back when you do get success, and when you fail, sit back and figure out why you failed, where you went wrong, what you could have done differently. Okay, because that's how you learn. I always say pickup is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Okay, and the same thing with approaching. It's a muscle. The more you approach, the stronger that approach muscle will get. Because nothing happens until you open. All right? Remember that. Nothing happens until you open. Nothing happens. You don't know this girl. You're never going to meet her. You don't know what could happen. You don't know if this girl could become your girlfriend or maybe even your wife. You know nothing until you open. This is why it is critical that you open. It is so critical that you open. To this very day, even with the amount of women I have in my life now, to this very day, when I see a young, beautiful girl that I feel that I have that instant connection and chemistry with, it kills me if I don't approach. It would kill me if I didn't approach and at least find out if there's anything there. Okay, it would kill me. So I often make it a point to approach, no matter if I'm feeling crappy that day or if I'm busy that day, I will take a second to just walk right up to her and I'll either go direct or I'll go indirect. But when I see that girl, I make it a point to open because I need to know, like, where would have this went? Would she have been cool? And not make those excuses in my head like, oh, she looks like a bitch, or oh, she looks stuck up. You don't know that until you open, until you approach. Because there are a lot of girls where I try to say that in my head. I try to make excuses like a lot of guys do, like, oh, that chick looks like a bitch, or she looks mean, you know, and then I'm like, let me just go find out for myself and just prove that I'm right, that she is mean. Then I'll walk up to her and I'll be like, hey, I just saw you in line. I thought you were cute. I just want to introduce myself. And then all of a sudden she's like, oh my God, you're so sweet. What's your name? You know, and all of a sudden she's like this sweetheart. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad I approached her. I'm so glad I approached this girl. Next thing you know, a few days later, we're out on a date together. A week later, she's my girlfriend. I mean, you just don't know until you open. This is why it is critical that you open. Okay, because like I said, nothing happens until you open. So you must open. And when you're first starting out, the way I want you to open is by going direct. You're gonna do this 80% of the time. Whenever you see a young, beautiful woman that you are attracted to, I want you to walk right up to her, introduce yourself, tell her she's cute, ask her what her name is, and then transition from there. And you're going to do this for the next 6 months where you are just going to become an approach robot, right? You're gonna become an approach robot. And you start to eliminate that fear that you have inside of you, that approach anxiety that has stopped you your entire life from approaching these women and finding out if there could have been more there, if you could actually dated this girl. I mean, if I could just tell you how many opportunities you probably blew because you didn't approach, you'd probably want to kill yourself. So very, very important that you open every single time you see a young, beautiful woman you want to approach. Okay, don't let these opportunities go. A direct opener is meant to immediately communicate your attraction and interest for your target. That's all a direct opener is. All right, now let's get into indirect openers. When it comes to indirect openers, unlike direct openers where there's really only one way to open, which is communicating your interest and attraction for your target, with the indirect openers, there are literally a flurry of ways that you can open a girl indirectly. But just to cut through all the crap, I am simply going to give you my top 3 favorite styles of indirect openers that I personally use over and over that has literally accumulated dozens and dozens of young, beautiful women into my own life consistently each and every month. So my top 3 favorite indirect openers that I personally use are favor openers, directions openers, directions. It kind of looks like a P, huh? All right, directions openers and situational openers. So these are my top 3 favorite indirect openers that I personally use when I go indirect on young, beautiful women, which these days I go indirect 80% of the time and I only go direct 20% of the time, and I'll tell you why. So like I said, when I first started out in the game, I went primarily direct 100% of the time because I had no concept of indirect. And even when the dating community started to establish itself and I began to understand what indirect openers were, I still continued to go direct, okay? Whereas these days, I don't. And the reason why is some of the cons of going direct is when you go direct, like I said, you are immediately communicating your interest and attraction for the girl, okay? So a lot of situations would happen where when I started to get good at this and I started accumulating a lot more young, beautiful women into my life, I started to become a lot more pickier. Okay, I started to become a lot more choosier. So when I was going direct and I was communicating my attraction for the girl right away, a lot of times right after I opened her, I realized I wasn't as attracted to her as I was when I first saw her. I started to get in situations where I now needed to find ways to eject from the set. It led to a lot of uncomfortable situations where the only times I go direct these days is if I know for sure that I'm attracted to this girl. I feel that instant chemistry and connection with her where I know that there's no need for me to go to indirect. I know that I'm into this chick and I'm just gonna go approach. I'm gonna communicate my interest and attraction for her and I'm gonna see what's up. Okay, those are the times I'll go direct. And most of the times I'm right and she's exactly what I expected. In very, very few cases these days am I wrong. But like I said, when you're first starting out, just go direct because you don't know what you want yet. You don't know what your type is yet. You really don't know these things until you start getting out there and just approaching scores and scores of young hot women. And then you start to kind of filter out what you actually like versus what you don't like. So these days I will mostly go indirect because going indirect gives you an opportunity to kind of sit back and kind of just size her up, right? And that's what I like to do with my targets these days because I do have an abundance of women in my life right now. And I'm not saying that to brag, it's just that I do. So I only have a very, very limited amount of time to bring new women in and date those women because obviously I have my YouTube channel, I've had my business to run. So I don't have a whole lot of time in the world to just date scores and scores of young, cute girls. Even though that sounds like really cool, I don't have time for all of them. I only have time for a very select few. So I'm very, very picky. I'm very, very choosy about who I invest my time in, my personal time in dating. You know, the girls that I am going to spend time away from my business to invest in them. I'm very, very choosy which girls I let into my life these days. And going indirect gives me an opportunity to kind of size them up as I'm gaming them, as I'm approaching them, to kind of feel them out and see if they're gonna fit into my social circle. So the 3 types of indirect openers that I use primarily today, and these are the 3 most successful ones that I've used over and over, pretty much for the last 2 decades, are favor openers, directions openers, and situational openers. And I will go ahead and give you examples of each one so that you can go out there and use these yourself. All right, so let's start with favor openers. What would be an example of a favor opener? A favor opener that I like to use, especially if I'm out with some of my buddies, is I will literally whip out my camera and I've got a point and shoot. And these days, everyone's using their digital camera. Everyone's using their phone camera, I mean to say. So these days, everyone's using their phone camera, but I like to bring my digital camera along because not too many people use these anymore and it kind of strikes up conversation, especially with a lot of these younger girls. They're like, oh my God, is that a point and shoot? He has a point and shoot, you know, that's so cute. Yeah, and so it strikes up conversation and gets them talking, it gets them feeling comfortable where I could kind of transition that into more conversation. So one of my favorite favor openers I'll pick out like the youngest, hottest girls in that venue and I'll grab my buddies and I'll say, hey, do you mind taking a picture of us? And the girl will be like, oh yeah, sure. You know, out of all people, I ask her. And she's like, yeah, sure. So she gets a camera, she takes a photo of us. So as soon as she takes a photo, what I like to do is we turn and I look at the photo with her. And whether she took a good photo or not, I'm now gonna tease her about her photo. I'm gonna be like, man, who taught you how to take pictures? This is the worst picture I've ever seen. Take another one. You know, and kind of tease her about it and make her take another one. And then we'll look at it and we'll look at this one. I'm like, it's a little bit better, but can't you hold the camera straight? Or I'll point something out that she did wrong in the photo, get her a little insecure about it and make her take a 3rd photo. She'll take a 3rd photo. By the 3rd photo, I'll be like, yes, see, look at how you took this photo. Perfect. This is how you take photos, okay? And I know you've probably never seen a point and shoot, and then I could transition into tons and tons of more conversation from that point on. Opening her all starts by just asking her for that favor, asking her, hey, can you take a photo of me and my buddies together? And it's very, very harmless, right? You're asking her to take a picture of you guys. It's harmless. Most people will just say yes because they wanna help you out. It gives you a great opportunity to just see how nice she is about it and kind of size her up, see if she's cool about it. Most guys don't open because they have that approach anxiety, they have that fear. When you're going indirect, it's very easy, especially with the favor opener. It's not like you're trying to pick her up. So she's not going to suspect that because you're asking her to take a picture of you and your buddy. She's not going to suspect that you're trying to pick her up, at least not yet. And even if you do later when you transition, it will just seem natural because she took photos, you teased her about the photos, and now you're kind of just transitioning into friendly, normal conversation with her where she's like, yeah, this guy's cool. And yeah, his friends seem cool too, you know, and it all started with her just taking a photo of you guys. And I literally have gotten, I can't even count how many dates, how many girls I ended up dating, all because I saw them in a crowded venue. All these chumps were approaching her, telling her how beautiful she is and all this other nonsense, where I just walked straight in and I was like, hey, take a photo of me and my buddies. And teased her about the photos, had her take like 2 or 3, teased her about each one, and started a conversation from there. It just seemed natural for her to become attracted to me, and she did. And then we ended up exchanging information, and then we ended up dating. That simple, all from just asking her to take a photo. So my very favorite are favor openers. Now, what if you're out by yourself? What if you don't have your buddies with you? Simple, you could still ask her for a favor, even just your phone. You could have even just your phone with you and just tell the girl, hey, I'm trying to reach in my pocket. I'm trying to grab something. I got my hands full. Can you hold my phone real quick? And then she'll hold your phone. And then you could tease her and be like, don't steal that. Don't steal that. I'm watching you. I'll chase you down. I'll chase you down, girl. I'll chase you down. And then get her laughing, and then you could transition, start a conversation from there. And from there, as she's holding your phone and as you're teasing her about potentially stealing your phone, you can ask her what she's doing that day. What have you got going on? Who are you here with? So favor openers, you don't necessarily need to have your camera with you. You could easily have her hold your phone. That's doing you a favor. Like hold my phone while I look for my stuff, while I look for my keys, hold my phone. Don't steal that. Don't run away with that. I love my phone. There are times where I didn't have anything on me, and I'm not even kidding, I literally picked up a rock off the ground. I picked up a rock. I saw this cute girl. We're at this pedestrian light, right? We're waiting for this green light. And I turned to her and I said, hey, do you mind holding this rock for me real quick? I need to look for my keys. She literally said, why are you holding this rock? And I said, I don't know, it's a magic rock. Don't lose that. It's my good luck charm. And she was like, really? What makes it magic? And I'm like, don't you see how it's sparkling? Because it kind of had like a little sparkly to it. And I'm like, don't you see how it's sparkling? This is my magic rock. Stop making fun of my rock. You know, you've never seen a magic rock, as I'm looking for my keys. And she's like looking at it. She's like, I just don't get what makes it magic. And I'm like, just trust me, it's special, okay? It is a special rock. And then from there, she was just laughing so much. I was just like, give me my rock back. What's your name? And then she tells me her name and I tell her mine. And next thing you know, 10 minutes later, we're at the friggin' coffee bean down the street having coffee together. And she's telling me about her job. She's telling me about how she just moved out to LA. You know, all from me picking up this rock off the ground and asking her for her favor to hold my rock because I didn't have anything else on me. I didn't even have my phone on me that day, which is funny because I left my house. I never do this, but I left my house that day without my phone. So I literally had nothing. All I had was my keys. I just picked up a rock because it was the first thing that came to my head. I was like, let me ask this girl to hold something. And then that's when I realized, shoot, I don't even have my phone with me. And I looked and I saw this big rock on the ground. I picked it up. It's like, hey, can you hold this rock? Simple as that. Next thing you know, I'm on a date with this girl. I'm on an instant date with this girl within 5 minutes. Within 5 minutes of picking up this rock. Like I said, if you're out in a crowded venue with your buddies, the easiest thing to do is to grab your camera, or if you don't have a point and shoot like mine, just give her your cell phone. Just tell her to take a photo with your phone. Be like, hey, can you take a photo of me and my buddies together? And then you can tell her, don't drop my phone. Do not drop my phone. You know, and you could tease her about that. Don't drop my phone as she's taking the photos. Because really, you don't care about the photos. Because if you do these favor openers and you're in venue, you'll probably rack up at least a dozen photos of you and your buddies together from you just walking around to all these random young hot girls and be like, hey, take a photo of me and my buddies, and then making fun of the photo that she takes, and then transitioning into more conversation, making her laugh, transition, making her laugh, transition, and just keep plowing forward and pushing your interaction further. Favor openers are one of my all-time favorite because it's so under the radar and it's so random. The girl's not going to suspect that you're trying to pick her up. And that's really the key with indirect openers, is you never want it to look like a pickup. All right? You never ever want it to look like a pickup when you're going indirect. It should never look like a pickup ever. All right. The only time it should look like a pickup is when you're going direct, obviously, because you're communicating your interest and attraction for her. The worst thing that you can do is try to do a combination of indirect and direct. The worst thing you can do is like walk up to her indirectly and then transition it into a pickup and start telling her how beautiful she is and how cute she is. Because if you do that, it's gonna come off creepy and it's gonna come off disgenuine and it's gonna come off like you're being fake because you approached her and say you used a favor opener, like here, hold this, and all of a sudden you're telling her how beautiful she is. It's not gonna work, all right? So you either have to go direct or indirect. You have to choose one, all right? You either have to go direct or indirect. Don't try to do a combination of both because it's not gonna work. Trust me, I've tried it over and over, it doesn't work. You either go direct, communicate your attraction for her right on the spot, or you go indirect and you don't communicate your interest or attraction for her, you let it build, you let it happen naturally. And that's what going indirect is all about. It has to happen naturally. So the first one we talked about, favor openers, that's a great way to let it happen naturally. It all has to happen under the radar. So favor openers are one of my all-time favorite for going indirect. All right, now let's talk about the second type of indirect openers that I like to use. Now the second type of indirect openers I like to use are called directions openers. And these are becoming more and more of my favorite these days just because I'm too lazy to go, I'm too lazy to ask these girls for favors. So a lot of times I'll just ask her for directions because all that requires me to do is seeing a young, hot, beautiful woman and going, hey, do you know where the mall is? Or do you know where the Starbucks is? Or hey, do you know where the Coffee Bean is around here? I generally like to pick out a place where there's either shopping or food. Why? Because if the interaction goes well, I can easily take her hand and take her with me. I could take her hand and ask her to come with me and be like, hey, what are you doing right now? I'm just gonna hop in there for 2 seconds. I was just gonna go grab a quick coffee. Or I was just gonna go to the mall, 2 seconds to do some window shopping. This will be fun. Why don't you come with me? Grab her hand, take her with you. So whenever I ask for directions, I want to make sure it's someplace specific that's kind of pre-set up where I would want to take her for an instant date, where it would be easy to take her on an instant date. Okay, so like I said, mall, Coffee Bean, Starbucks, any place like that where I can transition our interaction, our initial approach into an actual date that same day. You want to ask her for directions to places where you would want to take her on the instant date. So you want to kind of pre-set this up. So directions openers are another way, one of my favorite ways to open as well. And like I said, I'm using directions openers a lot these days just because I'm way too lazy to whip out my camera and ask a girl for a favor. So I'll usually ask for directions openers. But when I'm in these crowded venues, obviously asking for directions isn't gonna work. So those are the times I will use a favor opener. Ask a girl to take a picture of me and my friends, or I'll ask a girl to hold my drink, don't spike my drink, or I'll ask a girl to hold my phone while I look for my keys. These are all ways that you could ask a girl for a favor, or just pick up a rock off the ground or some obscure object and just ask her to hold it and then let her make conversation about it. Okay, so favor openers and direction openers, those are the ones we've covered so far. Now the third type of indirect openers that I want to teach you guys about are called situational openers. And situational openers are basically where you are going to look for anything in the environment going on around you that you can use to open your target. Situational openers are also called observational openers, where you are observing something in your environment or something about the target that you can open her on. So an example of a situational opener that you could use would be something like, say you're in a store somewhere, you could see a girl and you could be like, hey, do you know what time this store closes? Or hey, do you know where there's another store just like this anywhere close by? Say you're at a Target, because there are a lot of hot women who shop at Target here in LA. You can say, do you know where there's another Target around here? The big thing about situational openers are you want to use whatever is going on around you in your environment as an opportunity to open, which means you have to be very, very observant of the environment around you. And when it comes to using situational openers, I generally only use situational openers if there is a hot girl in front of me and there happens to be something worth mentioning that is going on around us, okay, that I could use to open her. And if you're in a busy area where there's lots of things going on around you, this is very easy to do. You can simply point at something You can point something out and go, hey, did you see that? Or hey, that was crazy. Did you see that? And then you can stack forward from there into more material. Another example of this would be like if I see a girl at a grocery store, okay? Usually when I see a young hot girl at a grocery store, and for some reason, we have a grocery store here in LA called Ralph's. And there are a couple of these Ralphs that are open 24 hours. And I'm not even kidding. It could be 3 in the morning and there are models walking into these Ralph's supermarkets doing their grocery shopping, you know, at the middle of the night, like early morning, just the weirdest hours. I've never ever seen this before. So what they have, they have these cakes, these like huge chocolate cakes that they sell. This is gigantic chocolate fudge cake that looks really, really delicious. So I'll pick up this cake because you know how women have a weakness for chocolate. Chocolate's like it's like an aphrodisiac for young hot girls. So I pick up this cake, and if I see a young hot girl, I like run to the bakery, pick up this cake, and I'll walk by her, and I'll say, hey, what do you think of this cake? And a lot of times the girl will be like, oh my God, that looks so good. I'm like, really? Do you think we could probably split this, me and you? If we were to eat this, you think we could knock this out? And she's like, I could knock that out by myself. A lot of girls will say that. I could totally knock that out by myself. And I could transition from there. But that's an example of situational openers. Like this girl's just shopping at Ralph's. I will go to the bakery, grab this chocolate cake, strategically go to the bakery, grab this chocolate cake and be like, hey, what do you think of this? So I won't just grab, you know, like something boring, like a carrot from the vegetable department and be like, hey, what do you think of this carrot? She'll be like, what about it? You know, it's not gonna do anything. So, so for me personally, when I use situational openers, I try to use something in the environment that would be interesting, or would be something that the girl would be kind of amused by to talk about, where I could transition forward, where I could get her laughing and just start plowing forward and stacking our conversation and pushing our conversation further. Another example, say you're somewhere and there's nothing going on. You could even comment on that, like, man, is it always this dead around here? What else is going on around here? Is there any place else to go? And just start stacking forward from there. Like, why is it so insanely boring around here? And just get her to respond. So situational openers are great if you are really good at observing and noticing little details and little nuances in your environment around you that you can quickly comment on without it sounding like you are trying to pick her up. Okay? As soon as it looks like you're trying to pick her up, it's not good. If you are going indirect, of course. If you're going direct, obviously she knows you're trying to pick her up, so it's not a big deal. But if you're going indirect, the moment it seems like a pickup, it's gonna come off creepy. So you never ever want it to look like a pickup. So if you're good at observing the environment around you and noticing those little details and those little nuances, then situational openers are the way to go for you. Me personally, I like directions openers just because I don't need anything on me. I can simply ask for directions, and especially if there's a mall nearby or if there's a park nearby or a museum or someplace where we can walk and just hold hands and window shop and just walk around and talk, I'm just gonna go with directions openers, okay? Now, if you're out with your friends on a Friday night, Saturday night, or if you're in a busy venue or a crowded bar or something like that, obviously directions openers aren't gonna work. You might be able to go situational, where you can ask her like, man, is it always this crowded in here? But the best thing that I've found that works in the crowded venues where there's a lot of people are just going with favor openers and just whipping out your camera and asking her to take a photo of you guys, you and your friends, and then just transitioning your conversation from there and plowing forward, just pushing your conversation further. Right? So those are the 3 styles of indirect openers I use. Favor openers, directions openers, and situational openers. That's it. I really don't use any other style of indirect openers other than these 3 that I just taught you about. And really, these are the only 3 that you'll ever need. I mean, these 3 basically cover every situation you're gonna be in. Now, real quick, before we wrap this up, I just wanna go back to direct openers real quick. Now, when you go direct on a young, beautiful girl, you have to understand that there are already tons and tons of guys who are approaching her every single day. So in order to give yourself a chance at success, you really, really want to separate yourself from those herds of guys who are approaching her every single day. Okay, even though you're pretty much gonna say the same thing, you're pretty much walking up to her, you're introducing yourself, you're telling her she's cute, you're asking her for her name, you're pretty much making the same attempt they are. Okay, so what you want to do when you go direct, just to separate yourself from the crowd just a little bit more, and that's really all it takes to get into this girl's life, is just separating yourself from the pack just a little bit more. You just want to go a little bit above and beyond what all those other guys are doing. Okay, so you just want to go a little bit above and beyond. So if you're going to walk up to that girl and you're going to say, hey, super random, but I saw you standing over there. I saw you, I thought you were cute, so I wanted to come over and say hello. My name's Matt. What's your name? Okay, and she gives you her name, and then from there you'd be like, wait, now before you say anything, because she's so used to blowing guys out, because at that point, as soon as you go, what's your name, she'll tell you her name, and a lot of times these girls, just to get rid of you, they'll say, oh, my name's Kate, but I have a boyfriend, right? How many times have you heard that? I had a boyfriend. So before she even gets to that, and I'll give you the response for the boyfriend objection, by the way. But as soon as she even gets to that, as soon as she can even give you an objection to your approach, you say, well, now before you say anything, you just say, I know you probably get hit on a lot, but all those guys are chumps, and I'm not. So tell me, I know you're a hot girl, but what else do you have going for you besides your looks? Then you immediately start going into those qualifying questions that I'm going to teach you about in your next training lesson below. All right, you immediately will start going into those qualifying questions. So as soon as you go direct, you introduce yourself, you tell her she's cute, you communicate your attraction for her, and then she tells you her name. That's where, before she has a chance to tell you she has a boyfriend, or before she objects, you say, now before I say anything else, I know you probably get hit on a lot, but all those guys are chumps and I'm not. And then you go into your qualifying question. Now before she could take the frame from you, before she could start making you jump through her hoops, before she can object to you, you start hitting her with those qualifying questions that I'm going to teach you about in your next training lesson below. You start hitting her with those qualifying questions that will give you the lead in the conversation, that will give you control, and that will make her seek your approval versus the other way around. Okay? So this is going to be done immediately after you open. You go direct, you tell her she's cute, you introduce yourself, she tells you her name, and then you immediately keep taking the lead. You don't let her take that lead from you, because a lot of these young hot girls, they're used to taking the lead from these guys. Okay, this is just what happens, because they get approached and they get hit on so much. You know, they get so many guys trying to pick them up every single day that they have this auto response like, oh, thank you, but I'm not interested, or oh, thank you, but I have a boyfriend. So in any case, these are the two styles of opening that you are going to use, and these are the only two styles of opening that you need: direct and indirect. Okay, and just a real quick recap: direct is where you're walking up to the girl and you are instantly and immediately communicating your attraction for her. You're walking up to her, you're saying, hi, my name's Matt. I saw you standing over there. I thought you were cute. I just wanted to say hello. I wanted to meet you. What's your name? Bang, transition from there. Okay, going indirect, these are the three styles that I use. You're gonna go under the radar. You're not gonna communicate your attraction for her right off the bat. Instead, you're going to let it develop organically through using your game. I like to use favor openers, directions openers, and situational openers. Now, the reason also why I tell my newer students why I want them to just focus on going direct is because it does take a bit more skill to go indirect on your targets. It takes more skill to go under the radar where it does not look like you're trying to pick her up. Okay, it takes a lot more skill to use indirect openers on your targets where she doesn't feel like it's an approach, and you can make her feel that attraction for you naturally and organically by using your game. Okay, where if you're new, you'll tend to screw this up. If you're new and you try to go indirect on a girl, and you try to use a directions opener, and you're like, hey, where's the coffee bean around here? And she tells you, and then you try to transition, and then once you see her getting attracted to you, what a lot of newbies do, well, they'll jump the gun and they'll do something stupid, or they'll give it away, or they won't be able to contain themselves because they'll just see that it's working and they won't be able to contain themselves, and the girl will feel that and she'll see that and she'll be like, oh, now it's creepy, because now she'll see that like, oh, this whole thing was a setup. You're just asking me for directions because you're trying to hit on me. You're trying to pick me up. So this is why you really don't want to go indirect when you're first starting out. You want to focus on going direct and just get it good at using direct openers, and just get good at opening and approaching and gaining that self-confidence and that self-assurance where you really don't feel that fear and that approach anxiety at the level that you're normally feeling it, that you're used to feeling it when you approach girls or when you think about approaching girls. You won't feel that as much when you get used to doing approaches over and over. And like I said, for the first 6 months, if you're just starting out, I just want you to become an approach robot, where you're just approaching every young hot girl that you see that you're attracted to, just going direct on her, taking those 5 or 10 seconds to go, hey, my name's Bob, my name's Tom, my name's Bill, whatever your name is. I saw you standing over there. I thought you were cute. I just wanted to come say hi. What's your name? Bang. You do that every time you see a young hot girl you want to approach. So for the first 6 months, I want students to just focus on being an approach robot, okay? I want you to at least get your first 300 approaches under your belt. And I know that sounds like a lot, but really it's not. Because if you go out 2 to 3 times per week and you do a minimum of 10 approaches each time you go out, you will literally knock out those first 300 approaches within 90 days, okay? Within 90 days, you can knock out 300 approaches by going direct, easily, even if you only go out 2 to 3 times per week. But I don't want you to just go out and approach and not learn anything, but instead I want you to take every single approach you do and I want you to break down what happened, okay? Break down what went right, break down what went wrong, break down your successes, break down your failures, so that you can make those adjustments and see that gradual improvement as you do more and more approaches. So besides just being an approach robot, don't just go out and approach and not learn anything. Make sure that every single girl you approach, you are taking the time to break down what went right and what went wrong, even just in your head. Okay, just in your head, just review it in your head and really ask yourself, like, what went well about this approach and what didn't go so well, so that you can learn and you can see that gradual improvement over time as your game gets better and better. And this is why too, especially in the beginning, if you're being an approach robot, like I said, for the first 6 months where you're just approaching, really, you're not going to have time for that approach anxiety anymore. You're not going to have time to feel that fear anymore, because you're just going to be too busy approaching. You're just going to be too busy learning, and you're going to want to see some of those rejections. You're going to want to see some of those failures, because that's what's going to allow you to really make those key adjustments in your game that will take your game to the next level. Okay, so you're not going to just go out there and have all these successes. You could go out and do 20 approaches, 19 of them are complete horrendous failures, but you get that one that's a success, and she likes you, and she's young, she's hot, and she's attracted to you. That's all you need, is that one. That's all you need. All you need is that one to get you started. I mean, the key is you want to be in a position where you can approach any girl, any place, anytime, without any hesitation and without any fear. And just being able to open that drop-dead gorgeous woman, that drop-dead gorgeous beautiful girl that you see walking down the street or that you see in line somewhere that most guys can't approach, you're going to have the skill to do that. And I can't even describe the superpower I feel to be able to do that. Like, I could be somewhere just randomly shopping, grocery shopping, where I just see that girl and she's young, she's hot, she's cute, she's beautiful, she's gorgeous, and I just need to go meet her. And I have that ability and that lack of fear and that lack of hesitation to walk right up to her and introduce myself and say, hi, my name's Matt. I just saw you shopping over here. I thought you were cute, and I just want to say hi. What's your name? Bang. And just make something happen. You know, and half the time, it won't go anywhere. The other half of the time, it will. Okay, but you don't know until you open. Like I said, nothing happens until you open. This is why you must open. And you must develop the skill of being able to open, being able to approach. Because just think back in your own life, how many situations you've had where you saw that drop-dead, young, gorgeous woman just walk right by you and you didn't know what to say. You didn't know what to do. You were frozen. You only wished that you could walk up to her and you knew what to say. Well, guess what? Now you do. Now you do. Now you do. This is what you say. This is what you do. You have the skill to do this. Okay? Now it's just about getting the reference experiences in your head that you can do this. Like I said, if you're just starting out, just go out there and start approaching. Just go out and start approaching. Be an approach robot, become an approach robot till you get rid of that fear, until you get rid of that approach anxiety, where you realize that approaching young, beautiful women is no big deal. You know, it's just magic being able to do this. And I always say, man, I would not sell this skill for $1 million. I would not sell this skill for $1 million. Like if you were to walk up to me and hand me a briefcase with $1 million in it and say, here, give me your pickup knowledge for this $1 million, I would say, no way, no. Because I love this feeling. I love this power. I love this power, and I don't need to put on a friggin' Batman suit or a Spider-Man suit to do this. I could be walking anywhere and instantly see that young, beautiful girl. I can walk right up to her and I can open her. I can approach her, I can open her, and I can find out what she's about within seconds. I can find out if she's cool or not within seconds. I could find out whether she's nice or not within seconds. I could find out whether we have a connection or not within seconds, just by walking up to her and using these. That simple. It all starts with opening. And this is why I've made this coaching lesson the very first lesson in your coaching program, 7 Months to Mastery. Opening. Because it's the most important, most critical part of the game. And nothing happens until you open. Until you open your target, nothing happens. And nothing can happen. So you want to get good at opening. So I want you to go out there and I want you to start using these. I want you to start getting good at approaching. I want you to start getting comfortable at approaching. I want you to start getting those reference experiences in your head that this is possible, that you can do this, that you can go out there and proactively bring young, hot women into your life, young, hot women that are in other people's social circles. You can bring them into your social circle. My social circle, when I first started out, we didn't have any young hot girls in our social circle, okay? They weren't part of my social circle. So I had to go out there and get them. I had to go out there and bring them into my social circle. And the only way I knew how to do that was through cold approach pickup, through opening. And like I said, I would always go direct. I went direct 100% of the time when I first started out. And then once the dating community started to form and I started to learn about indirect openers, also by this time, I did have a good abundance of women in my life where now I could start being more choosier. So I started going indirect because indirect, as I've said, gives you an opportunity to really size up the girl and really see if you even want to invest your time in dating her, right? That's why I like to go indirect 80% of the time these days, where rarely I'll go direct. I'll only go direct if I know for sure that I'm into this chick, I don't need to beat around the bush, and I'm just gonna communicate my attraction for her and transition from there and try to get attraction from her in return. Okay, those are the times I go direct. But when you're first starting out, you don't know what you want, you don't know what your type is. And even back then, I can think back, I thought I knew what I want, and what I wanted was just cute girls. I wanted hot girls in my life. That's all I wanted. I didn't really go beyond just, yeah, as long as she's hot, bring her in. Where these days, not only does a girl have to be young, hot, and beautiful, but she has to have other qualities that fit into my belief system, that mirror my values. She has to share those qualities that I share, where I know that if I start dating this girl, we are going to be a unit. We're going to be a team, you know, and we're going to be spending our time together building each other up, as opposed to what most relationships are, where the couples are tearing themselves down. I don't want those relationships anymore, and I've had plenty of those kinds of relationships with young hot girls, and it's just not what I want anymore. So these days, most of the time I go indirect because it gives me an opportunity to just kind of size her up and just kind of feel her out before I invest any more time, not only in pursuing her, but in the actual approach. Because if this chick is just young and hot and she's telling me she goes night clubbing 5 times per week and she does friggin' lines, which is like cocaine, or she does weed, or she friggin' has a drinking problem, if I'm seeing this all in the approach, I'm just not gonna go any further. I don't need to go any further. I don't need to know. Yeah, she's cute, yeah, she's hot, but I don't need her in my life because I've dated plenty of girls like her and I just don't need that anymore. However, when I was first starting out, I probably would have gone out with her, you know, and it took going out with enough of those girls to really filter out what I wanted versus what I didn't want. And you're gonna go through that process too, which is why I say if you're just starting out in the game like I was once, you just want to be an approach robot, and you just, whenever you see a young hot girl you're attracted to, just go and approach. Just go and approach and get Get good at approaching. Become a master at approaching. Become a master at opening, where you don't feel that fear and that approach anxiety anymore. Okay, to the point where it's just not a big deal for you. That's the level you want to get to. Okay, because as I've said a million times, nothing happens until you open. And nothing happens unless you can open, which most guys cannot do. Not everyone can do this. And the reason they can't do this is because they don't learn this stuff. They don't learn these skills. You know, and one of our primary drives as humans, as males, is to procreate, right? We want to replicate ourselves. And it just blows my mind that guys don't learn this stuff. And it just doesn't shock me when I see a lot of guys, especially good-looking guys, with a girl who's very average looking, a girl who's overweight, a girl who's not at his level, a girl who's below his potential. Doesn't shock me at all because he didn't learn this stuff. Doesn't shock me at all. But then when I see guys who are dating girls that most people would consider out of their league, and most people would consider are too good for them, I'm like, this guy has this stuff down. This guy has this stuff in his head wired and ready to go anytime he sees young, beautiful women. Obviously, this guy learned this stuff. If not, he's a natural. He knows what he's doing. And even naturals, I still suggest they learn this stuff because I was a natural. I started out as a natural. And it wasn't until I learned the dating community started to establish itself that I started to put more structure into my game. And I started to learn that there is a structure that I could use and that I can follow that will increase my success and my closing ratio by tenfold if I just follow the structure that I'm giving you now. So these are the openers, direct and indirect. These are the ones that you're going to use with every young, beautiful woman you approach. Every single girl you approach, you're going to go either direct or indirect. Practice, practice, practice. Practice until you master it.